Hey everyone, it's Raven. I got a pretty juicy video for you guys. I've been working on this one for weeks, just jotting down a bunch of opinions. So as I said in previous videos, this is my fourth and hopefully final time in the Philippines. I'm staying here permanently in Davao City. So I spent a total of 5 months here in the Philippines. This video is for mostly for foreigners, I would say, but really just anybody, even Filipino people, if you're curious what maybe a foreigner's first impressions or later impressions are, even because I have been here for 5 months. And again, I'm not staying on the beaches sipping on pina colada, you know, I'm here in like the rough and the gruff, living the real Filipino lifestyle, or I have rather. I'm living a slightly closer to Canadian standard right now, but yes, I've experienced, I'd say, all tiers of Filipino living here. So I'm gonna run through the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, so I'll do the bad, which is just stuff that's not good about the Philippines or stuff that I personally don't like. Then I'll go through the ugly, which only 2 things made that category for me. The ugly will be the stuff that's really bad, terrible, and then I want to end the video on a good note, so then I'll do the good to end the video. And I've just been slowly taking notes over the past couple months, really digesting this place and, you know, learning, getting an educated opinion about all this stuff, you know. So before I get into this, I want to say that you could make the same video about any country in the world. So if something that I say upsets you, just don't let it upset you. I mean, who cares what some gringo on the internet has to say about something, right? It's just my opinion, whatever. If you disagree, that's okay. If you think that something I said is incorrect or uneducated, then educate me, right? Leave a comment and let me know. Secondly, if you're upset about the list of negatives that I have here about the Philippines, trust me, the list that I have about my own country back in Canada is 2 times longer, so we're in the clear. I've always been the type of person that preaches balance. You know, when I look at other vloggers here in the Philippines, I notice a lot of them are like, happy, yeah, this is the greatest place in the whole world, and I do love it here. This is my home. There's a reason why I've uprooted my entire life in Canada to live here in the Philippines, you know, but I am not I don't like to sugarcoat things, you know. I like to focus on the good and the bad. You know, there's no sunny days without rainy days, black and white, sweet and sour, so I like to preach balance. I wanted to make a video that was realistic as well, because I have explored a couple videos like this, and again, like I just said, I do notice that the videos are overly optimistic and positive in nature, which is fine, I understand. It garners a lot of views. People want to hear positive things. Whether you're a Filipino person, you want to hear positive things about your country, and whether you're a foreigner wanting to move to the Philippines, you want to hear positive things, right? Nobody wants to hear negative things, but the reality is negative things exist. And so I do want to talk about that stuff. We're going to talk about everything, both the positive and the negative. Lastly, the Filipino people have welcomed me with open arms, so take this so lightly, okay? This is just a light sparring match, and like I said, you could make a video like this about any country in the whole world, okay? So yeah, just don't get upset about this. There's no need to be upset, right? It's just a stupid video. Who cares? Okay, so let's just jump right into it. This is all improv. I've just got a list here, and I'm just gonna talk right off the top of my head here, okay? So we'll start right from the top. Again, this is in no order at all, completely random, but we'll go the bad, the ugly, and then the good, okay? So the first thing you're gonna notice the very second you step off a plane is the heat. Man, it's hot in this country. Obviously, it's a tropical country. I'd say Canada gets just about as humid as the Philippines, but again, it is over 30 degrees here, pretty much 365 days a year. So as soon as you get off the plane, you're just met with this blanket of heat, this like thick, humid air. It's something that you learn to live with, absolutely, but AC and fans are going to be your best friend here. The only 2 seasons that exist here in the Philippines is the dry season and the rainy season. I don't really notice any sort of difference. I've experienced both of them already. It's just hot as hell here, 365 days a year. Again, nothing really changes. It's just hot. It's just the way it is here. The second thing is the garbage. The state of garbage in the Philippines is really not good, as actually shown in my last video. So here we've got a gym just outside our house here, and it's multiple times a week that the whole community seems to just pile all their garbage at this spot right on the gym where kids are playing 5 feet away and all this stuff. And I mean, even today, my whole house that's like 100 feet away just stunk, like just hot, rotting, filthy garbage all day, right? So that's a little bit agitating. And even like public facilities are completely devoid of garbage cans, things like that. So it's very common that anywhere you're walking, you're seeing garbage on the ground. The rivers are full of garbage. Yeah, the way they've dealt with garbage here in the Philippines is a no-go. A couple years ago, during another trip to the Philippines, I went to this known beach, beautiful white sand and everything, and everybody was swimming, but I noticed there was so much garbage, even in a spot where you actually have to pay to be like on the beach kind of thing, like you spend the night there in a tent or a cottage or whatever, right? And so I figured, well, I'm here swimming, I may as well clean up some garbage while I'm swimming around in the ocean anyway. It's beautiful, I'm not doing anything. So I cleaned up about, holy shit, had to be 10 to 20 kilograms of garbage within a couple hours, right? Pulling out these, I found this massive bag, so I'm pulling out all this garbage from the ocean, and everybody was looking at me like I'm crazy. And I'm thinking to myself, like, guys, this is your ocean, this is your beach, you guys should be the ones taking care of this stuff, you know? I'm sure it's not like this everywhere in the Philippines. Everything in this video, actually, everything bad that I'm listing in this entire video does not apply to all Filipino people or all of the Philippines, just as anything, right? There's good areas here, there's bad areas here, some that are more dirty than others, some that are safer or less safe than others, etc. The list goes on, right? So take everything with a grain of salt. Next one is the different idea of cleanliness in the home. So back in Canada, I like a crystal clean home. I'm a total clean freak, you know, like even dust kind of drives me crazy, but they've got a very different standard of what cleanliness in the home is here in the Philippines. So it's very normal for the outdoors to be a part of the indoors, if that makes any sense, you know? So homes in the Philippines kind of strike me as like you want to wear your shoes inside. It feels more natural to wear your shoes inside of a traditional Filipino home, which they don't, but to me that feels more normal because they're kind of dirty. They are. Yeah, if you were to go like this and wipe the floor and look at your finger, it's gonna be black with dirt in most Filipino homes, you know? There's bugs inside, and a lot of them have completely open windows without screens on them and stuff like that, so you've got all this dust and dirt flying in from outside and all over the floors and furniture and whatever. So but they're used to that type of stuff, you know? Going outside in your bare feet, you come back in, you track that dirt inside. But yeah, for me, I like a crystal clean home. So I feel like I take that from Canada. That's pretty normal amongst the average home in Canada. But yeah, they've got a different standard of cleanliness here in the Philippines for sure. Next one is foodborne illnesses. I have never experienced a foodborne illness in 5 months, and to be honest, I've got pretty bold with eating all the street food and stuff here. I've tried pretty much every Filipino dish there is to try by now. I've eaten almost exclusively at Karen Dairies for the past couple months that I've been here. I've tried a bunch of different stuff, never got sick once, knock on wood. Can it happen? Yes, it can. Maybe I've just had a good stretch. Maybe I'm intuitive when it comes to choosing the public places that I eat at. I'm not sure, but so far so good. Next one is irritants in the air, dust, dirt, smoke, and fumes. Okay, so the air quality here in the Philippines is noticeably different, absolutely. At the end of the day, when I take a shower and I go like this, I can feel a film. I can feel a film just on my whole body, whether it be sweat, or like oils, clogged pores, whatever. But just yeah, when you go outside here in the Philippines, it's there's a lot going on, man. There's like motorcycles and vans and trucks and whatever with loud exhaust and smoke blowing all over the place, and that's the main form of transportation here is motorcycles and Jeeps, vans, whatever, right? So yeah, there's a lot of that stuff blowing around all over the place. It's a dirty place, lots of dirt roads everywhere, and yeah, I mean, in Canada, it's snowing half the year, right? So the snow compacts everything in the air, it just sits on the ground and stuff. So I feel like the air in Canada is a lot more brisk than it is here in the Philippines. There's constantly just pollutants and irritants in the air, you know? In 1 month of being here, I had a severely impacted ear that I had to get cleaned from a specialist, which never happened to me in Canada, ever. And I got pink eye. This one's kind of a big one. Lacks basic hygiene practices. No soap in public bathrooms, no toilet paper or tap water. Like, because they have something here, like bidets are very common here amongst Asia, but in the Philippines for the more like middle upper class homes, they do have bidets to wash your cornhole after you're done using the shitter. Yeah, they don't have that in public bathrooms, or even the tabo. Again, the tabo is just a little bucket with water where you can pour it on your stinking, wretched anus after you're done cutting some logs, you know. But in public bathrooms, they have nothing, which blows my mind, because I can't tell you how many times I went into a mall or whatever, especially like the lower class malls or whatever. Like if you're in like SM, the branch of SM malls, I can't even remember if they have toilet paper or not. Probably not. But anyway, very common here to not have toilet paper here. Or soap. The soap is the one that blows my mind. That's crazy, because the Philippines is a cash society. Everybody is touching everything, right? So even the sinks and the hand dryers and stuff like that, you have to actually lift the handle. So you take a shit or a piss, whatever, then you go and lift the thing, and you're just washing your hands with water. There's not even any soap. You're expected to bring soap and toilet paper. But people don't, and I've saw this time and time again where I go into the bathroom and people will take a shit, not wash their hands, just walk straight out, which blows my mind. That's crazy, because they're going out into the mall, touching whatever, shopping, whatever, public facilities, handrails, escalators, getting into the Jeep, holding onto the railings, and touching cash, giving it to each other, right? So that's a big no-no. That's a huge, that's really bad. Yeah, something should be done about that. I definitely think there should be some level of government funding for at least toilet paper. I know toilet paper isn't common here. It's more so like the tabo thing, using your hand and water, but they got to do something about that, because yeah, that's totally not okay. So as I just said, the Philippines is a cash society. Not really too big of a deal, but there's actually no way for this country to pivot into being a cashless society, because there's so many professions here that are locked into being a cash society. For instance, one of the biggest livelihoods here in the Philippines is being a tricycle driver, right? So public transportation here in the Philippines is excellent. So if I leave my house right now, I can just flag somebody down and say, hey, I want to go here, I want to go there. As a tricycle driver, it's all over the place. Employs millions and millions and millions of people here, right? So the only way that this can possibly be done is through cash, because they don't have things like Uber like we do back in Canada, where everything is done digitally. Everyone's got a phone and apps and credit cards, and it's not like that here. It's kind of like a time warp back to the 70s over here, you know? So but it's kind of charming. It is kind of charming. There's some pros and cons to it. Maybe you can find some money on the ground, or maybe you can lose some of your own money, so you got to be careful, you know. And they still use the old paper bills too. They're only just now pivoting to the actual updated plastic bills. So when you do your laundry and stuff, you want to be careful and make sure that you take your paper bills out of your pockets, because I don't think you can just take them to the bank and get them replaced like you can back in first world countries. The next one is the sensitivity of Filipino people. However, this is much better compared to other places in Asia, specifically East Asia. So Japanese, Chinese, and Korean people. I've had some experience dating women from those cultures in the past. Can't say I've talked to too many guys, but in particular, you do need to be very cautious about what you're saying to people like that, because they have a very different idea of what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, what's offensive, what's not offensive. Even in the Philippines, it is still kind of like that, not nearly as much as those other countries, but yes, Filipino people are more sensitive. Back in Canada, especially America, holy, but you can say whatever you want to pretty much anybody, especially a young man like me, 32 years old. I mean, we pretty much have feelings of steel, right? You can say the most inappropriate, obnoxious, horrible, just offensive things to each other, and sarcasm is just ingrained into our social culture, you know, so we don't really get offended over stuff like that. But here, it's not really like that, so you do need to be more cautious and feel it out. I like to let people talk to me first and joke around with me first, so I can gauge their like, okay, that's how this guy acts, okay, now I know how I can act towards him, you know. just to feel it out kind of thing. But yeah, generally more sensitive than North Americans. Poverty. Obviously, the Philippines is, they don't like to call it a third world country. They like to say it's a developing nation, which I'm in agreement with. I do agree with that. I think that's, I think the Philippines is very quickly clawing its way out of the third world country category. There is still a considerable amount of people here living below the poverty line. I think in like 2017 or something like that, it was like 18%. In the past 8 years, it's dropped like 3%. So we're down to like 15% living under the poverty line. Now the problem is the poverty standard is very different than it would be to Canada. So that sounds pretty good. Like only 15% of your country is living in poverty, but there's a couple things to remember. There's 110 million people here. That's a staggering amount of people compared to the 40 million people living back in Canada, right? So, and again, poverty in the Philippines and poverty in Canada are two completely different things with different systems to provide for the public. So for instance, in Canada, if you're homeless and you're addicted and whatever, right, to drugs or alcohol, and you're just in a really horrible spot in life, there's a whole phone book of numbers you could call to be like, hey, look, I'm addicted to drugs, I'm mentally ill, but I'm sick of living like this. Like, you know, I'm hungry, I don't have a place to live. Can you help me out to get on my feet? We have all sorts of subsidizations and government programs and facilities to help people who are genuinely wanting to get better. Here in the Philippines, it's not like that, right? Things like that are very niche, so it's a very dog-eat-dog world here. It's don't get lost in the sauce, because yeah, you will get left behind. Thankfully, the Philippines does a pretty good job at counteracting this with fantastic employment opportunities. Obviously, employing 110 million people is a very difficult thing to do. However, they've done a good job at, for instance, as I shown in one of my much earlier videos, when I went to the supermarket in General Santos City called KCC Supermarket, they have 155 caches open in this grocery store. 155. Back in Canada, you're lucky if we have 2 to 3 open, right? And each cache back in Canada only has 1 cashier, that's it. And you have to bag your own groceries and whatever. Here in the Philippines, there's 3 people per cache. You'll have one person actually doing the cache, another one that's just kind of on standby, I'm not really sure what they do, then a third person that will actually bag your groceries for you, box them up, whatever. They've just got this really good synergization of employment there and employment opportunities, which is paramount with how many people we have here in the Philippines. 110 million people crammed into a couple little islands, right? So very important. So I haven't been to too many places in the Philippines. I've been to enough. Been to a couple different provinces, and I've saw some of the good and some of the bad. I live in a pretty slummy area, a lower income area, as I've stated before, in Davao City, south of Bolton Bridge, in a place called Mangahan, which is just really raw Filipino living, you know. But I've never been to places like Tondo or Smoky Mountain or even like Manila City, not to be confused with Manila. Manila is huge, right? But there's a place actually called Manila City, which supposedly has some pretty rough areas in there. So there's different levels of poverty, obviously. Thankfully, I can't say I've come across any homeless people here, or people that were like, sir, like, I'm hungry, like, can I have some food? I'm so hungry. Or saw people digging through the garbage. Not once. I can't say I ever saw that. I have saw that a couple times in my first stay in Makati years ago. Does it exist here? Absolutely, it exists. But I can't say that the standard of living that I've saw in my 5 months of being here. People seem to be doing pretty good. Resilient people, resourceful. Borrowing money culture. That's a huge thing here in the Philippines. Borrowing money, like loan sharks, and borrowing money from your family or your coworkers or your friends. Sometimes paying it back and sometimes not paying it back. A lot of people lose friends and family members and all sorts of stuff here over loaning money, borrowing money. So my best advice is don't get involved in any of that stuff. Just don't. We should each be working for our own money, and if you're gonna borrow money from somebody, pay it back for the sake of your relationship, your friends, your family. It's just better for everyone, you know? Don't borrow it if you don't plan on paying it back. Gossip culture. Gossip culture is another problem here in the Philippines, but honestly, kind of a problem everywhere in the world, I would say, right? So very common for people to be like, oh, hey, how are you? And then they leave the room and right? So that kind of stuff happens here all the time. And talk of the town, you know, I'm sure people have already said to us, like, oh, she's dating a foreigner for his money, and oh, she's a prostitute or whatever, right? Like, she's just using him, and all sorts of shit, whatever. Don't get involved in it, man. Just let people say whatever they want, right? But again, that happens anywhere in the world. That's not something specific to the Philippines. That's anywhere, right? Catty people do catty things. Get a life, get a hobby, guys. Not Filipino people, just anybody. Just saying, get a hobby, anybody. Next one is tambay people. There's a great divide amongst Filipino people that want better for themselves and their country, and then the people that don't. So tambay is a term here used for basically people that just sit around and do nothing, whether they're drinking, smoking, sitting around, just shooting the shit, chatting all day, drinking coffee, not cleaning up the big mountain of garbage surrounding their house, or their dog shit, or whatever it may be, right? Just people that just don't care to better their lives. They just are not doing anything. And again, this is also not particular to the Philippines either. This is anywhere, right? But you do see it a good amount here, absolutely. There's been more than enough times where I've been at the basketball court. Again, I'm here on my savings, right? On a limited amount of savings, so I need to pinch my money from month to month here, but I'll go out to the basketball court here midday on a Monday or a Wednesday or something, and there's like full-grown men there, like shooting hoops with like big beer guts and stuff, and I'm like, don't you guys have jobs? You know, like, do you guys have kids or jobs or anything? Why don't you guys like go tend to something? You guys should be doing something more productive than this. And it's like they're there like every day, right? So it's not like it's just day off, I want to go shoot some hoops. It's definitely a tambay thing. And I really saw this. So there is a lot of people here who do play the victim card, like, oh, oh, life is so hard here in the Philippines. Life is like, please, sir, please. Like, I see it. It happens. It does happen. And life is hard here in the Philippines. They're not wrong. It's true. However, there is also millions, tens of millions of people here in the Philippines that are doing great for themselves, right? They are proud of their country, proud of their accomplishments, and their whole family is just making their own money and their own plays in life, and good for them. You guys should be proud of yourselves, you know, for doing better. And there's tension between these two kinds of people, you know, because yeah, like, man, I've walked past Filipino communities where the houses are like gated and they're clean and they're clearly organized and cared for and maintained, and the people that live in them are educated and well spoken and well mannered, and I'm very proud of them. I'm very proud of them, you know. And obviously you have the other people that are less educated and less caring to better their lives. And again, it's like that anywhere else in the world. There isn't a lot of people trying to propel the Philippines forward. So there are, if I leave Canada for like 10 or 15 years, something like that, and I come back to Canada, a lot has changed, you know. A lot of facilities are updated with newer technology, newer computer systems, and self-checkout, and this and that, and better transportation, and so forth, right? So developing at a much faster rate. But here in the Philippines, if you leave for 10 or 20 years, you come back, the only thing that's changed is that things are now just 10 or 20 years older. So those same buildings or parking lots or roads that you saw 10, 20 years ago are actually just even older and more decrepit than they were back in the day. And a lot of systems stay archaic and obsolete here in the Philippines too. So even when you go shopping at the supermarket and stuff like that, it's not uncommon to see them using the old cashier panels where it's like chick 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 ching ching chick chick chick, you know, like just very archaic, time warp kind of stuff. For anybody wondering, this is not Starbucks. This is just the cup. I have never paid for Starbucks in my life, and I never would, because I'm not rich, okay? I'm poor. So na ayoko. Corta palihold. Kotom. And fuck the corporate man. He can shove it up his... This is just cheap Lipton green tea bags in a fancy Starbucks cup from when Boyd bought me Starbucks matcha a couple weeks back. I'm just kept the cup. Just to look bougie. Okay, so the next one is dental hygiene. Dental hygiene, as I've spoken about in previous videos, is a big deal here in the Philippines. I'd say more than 50% of Filipino people are missing multiple teeth by my age. At the age of 32, oh gosh, maybe half their teeth are missing. I don't know. Depends on person to person. Obviously, again, maybe depends on area to area too. Maybe if you go to more upscale, educated areas, maybe there's a correlation between them losing less teeth. I'm not sure, but this place is plagued by sugar, as I've shown. Their sugar is everywhere, man, and soft drinks with pretty much every single meal. You know, pop, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, whatever, all that stuff. So common here. The 3-in-1 coffees have even got me by the balls right now. I've been drinking these 3-in-1 sugary junk coffees like every day for the past week. I can't help it. They taste amazing. And they're so cheap and readily available, you know? So I get it. Yeah, sugar's a real problem here. You got to use your self-discipline to combat that. Very normal for Filipino people to only brush their teeth once a day too. They haven't been really taught on just proper dental hygiene as a whole. You know, it starts with both the parents, schooling, society, everything. This is a very collective thing that needs to be taught because it can stem into bigger problems, both with like your self-image, but also health problems as well. I mean, rotting teeth can make you have stinky breath. It makes you self-conscious about the way you look. You can start getting abscesses in your mouth and you can become septic and all these other things. It can become a nightmare, right? So dental hygiene is very important. It's something that the Philippines should be educating their people on more often. Lack of education surrounding safe sex, lots of early pregnancies here, and misinformation about birth control. So I've heard multiple times now about people preaching that, oh, don't use birth control. Birth control makes you sick. It does this, it does that. No, it doesn't. Birth control is used by tens and even hundreds of millions of women around the whole globe, you know. Birth control has prevented more suffering than maybe anything ever, you know, especially in a country like this where people aren't well funded to be having more children. You know, it's very common to see young adults here with 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. I would say the average Filipino family is probably having 3 to 5 kids in their lifetime. You know, very common here, regardless of their financial state, right? Very common here. Safe sex needs to be taught. And again, it's a little bit different because back in Canada, kids are so wrapped up in the digital era where they just stay inside and play video games, which sometimes does a little bit good for the kids because then they're not out having sex. But here, kids can be having sex for as young as 12, 13 years old, man, because it's such a social culture here where kids are just outside running the streets all night. Them and their friends at 12, 13 years old, they get a crush on a girl. And, hey, you want to sleep over? You want to come here? You're like, you know. So yeah, it happens, man. Condoms, birth control, all of these things should be readily available. We should do some government funding and more programs to ease the 110 million population issue here in the Philippines continuing. I have saw a couple times now where families come to expect their children to start paying for everything or things when the children start getting old enough to work. Now, parents should be the ones providing for the children. They also shouldn't be having more children if they're not financially stable. Obviously, this shouldn't even really need to be said. It's parents' responsibility to be paying for their children. It should be the kids saying, Mom, Dad, can I have 100 pesos to go here and go do this with my friends and buy this or whatever? And Mom, Dad, oh, here you go. Here's your money, right? It should never be Mom and Dad saying, oh, like, you know, we need you to help. We need you to pay for this and that and whatever. And it's like, that's common here, man. That's very common here. And that's not okay. If you're not in a spot to be having kids, just don't have them, right? And again, accidents happen, yeah, but birth control happens too. Limited access to basic necessities like food, water, housing, and medical care. This is a thing. Some in some of these things in certain parts of the Philippines more than others. Again, I don't really see this stuff happening here. Maybe the medical care situation, again, I'm a foreigner on foreign money, so my medical experiences here in the Philippines have been amazing, which I'll talk about in the good part of this video. But for the Filipino person working for the Filipino peso, when they have a medical issue, I'm sure it's pretty catastrophic being able to afford things like that, you know. But for me to get my eye cleared up costed me like 1,000 pesos, whatever, which is $25 Canadian, but 1,000 pesos is a lot of money for a Filipino person, you know. So water, I know that like pretty much all the water here in Davao City comes from like the wells, like groundwater. I don't know how clean it is. I don't drink it. I drink mineral water that we get for 30 pesos for a huge jug of it. I can't say. I don't know like the risk of, I'm not educated enough to say if there's like E. coli or anything in the water. I don't know. People are eating. Everyone seems to be eating. I haven't saw anybody starving here. It's happening, but I can't comment on what I haven't saw. Next one is that people believe that all foreigners are rich. We are often targeted by beggars, overcharging, or being used for money in the dating world. So yes, all of these things happen. It's even to me all the time. Actually, this is a daily occurrence for foreigners. It is one of the annoyances here. One or a multiple of these things is happening. I've heard a multitude of stories now about lonely suckers around the world falling in love with a Filipina. They're together for an X amount of time, whatever, and then she's like, oh, you know, my family needs this, and oh, my dad is sick, he needs to go to the hospital, and all these things, and foreigners can't buy land here, so you know, so he funds her, and she buys a lot, or she buys a house or whatever. A couple years pass or whatever, they split up, and everything's under her name, so she keeps it, and then his life is just bent, right? He's just screwed. He's shit out of luck, and then he hates the Philippines, and he hates all Filipino women, and that's a common story here. A lot of guys go through that. That won't be me. Thankfully, I've got a really healthy back and forth relationship with my girlfriend, and yeah, I will never put myself in a position for something like that to happen. However, being begged for money is a common occurrence here. It happens every single day. Whether it be from the kids, from the elderly, even overcharging. The only way you can really prohibit the overcharging thing from happening is by experience, by being here and just shopping. You need to go out there and just shop, you know, and find out what is the going rate for everything. Your food, your clothing, your transportation, everything. And you start getting a good idea of like, okay, like, it shouldn't cost that much. That's too much money. This guy's definitely overcharging me, you know, so trial and error. But the reality is, coming from a first world country, I always explain this. Everybody thinks that because I'm from Canada, oh, you're rich, you must be so rich. And like, oh, you live in that place over there, that's a nice place, you must be rich. But no, because coming from Canada, yes, the truth is you do make more money working in a first world country, absolutely. But you spend more money. It's significantly more expensive to live in these countries. So ultimately, you're not saving really any money, and it's not really too different from being in the Philippines and working in the Philippines. It's the same thing as being in Canada and working in Canada. The expenses are still soul crushing either way, you know? Obviously, the standard of living is a little better in Canada, but is it? The next one is a lot of superstitious and archaic beliefs here. Some misinformation constantly being instilled into the younger generations for this cycle to continue. I'm a very logical individual, so some of that stuff really does get under my skin. I mean, they've got all sorts of wacky beliefs here, voodoo, shamanistic type of shit. Like you can't cut your toenails at nighttime, you can't sweep the floors at nighttime. It's all of that same type of nonsense where like back in Canada, you ever heard that one where like if you walk underneath a ladder, it's 7 years of bad luck? Come on, ridiculous. Same as religion. I personally am completely against religion. I'm not a religious person at all, which is funny, ironic, because I'm living in one of the most religious places in the world. They are extremely passionately religious here in the Philippines, and that's because it's just instilled into them, and adults teach their kids, God is the way, God is the way, everything is God's will, right? Even the bad stuff is God's will, which is kind of, come on. Like, if a child dies of a horrible death of bone cancer, no, it wasn't God's will. It's because the child, either its body just wasn't strong enough to fend off of it, or it didn't have proper medical treatment. Maybe it was completely preventable. So many preventable things happen here every day, and I digress. But yeah, just a lot of like silly nonsense, misinformation being instilled to people here. I don't argue with it because it's not my place to argue, right? Shopping around for like prices and stuff like that can be strange here, whether it be a service or an actual object that you're buying, a product that you're buying. Sometimes you can go to one place, they'll give you a quote, whatever, you go to the next place and it's completely different, just nowhere even in the same ballpark. And it's so strange too, because like back when I was going to get John Paul and Christine's cavities fixed multiple videos ago with some of your donations, the first dentist I went to quoted me like $7,500, which is like almost $2,000 or almost $200, and it was just this ugly hole in the wall with dirty floors and everything. And I was like, holy shit, man, these people are charging an arm and a leg. And then we went to another place that was totally upscale, really nice, you know, everything, and it was less than half of the cost. So yeah, you do have to kind of shop around here. And again, this could be a problem unique to me because I am a foreigner, so maybe I'm just paying the foreigner tax, I'm not sure. Filipino time. If someone says they're on the way, trust me, they haven't showered, eaten yet, watered the plants, or repainted the bathroom, right? So yeah, Filipino people are some of the most unpunctual people on the planet, which drives me insane because I'm such a punctual person. I believe that if you're not early, then you're late. That's how I am. I've always had that attitude, you know. I like to keep people updated, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I got to do this, this, and this, and then I'll be there at 8:07 on the dot. You can count on that, you know. That's how I am, and they're not like that here. It's a very lax society, a very lax ethnicity of people here, a very lax country. Everything is just, what's the rush, man? It'll happen when it happens. Be cool, you know? Unfortunately, this punctuality kind of bleeds into other aspects of Filipino living here as well, though, because I can say a lot of places, establishments where employees should be professional aren't professional at all. Where I've went in there and there'll be an employee with his bare feet up on the counter as soon as you walk inside, and you're like, what the hell, you know? Things like that, or just smoking and like on the phone with like the phone's volume is like 100% while they're like scrolling through TikTok reels and shit. And it's like, dude, this is a professional establishment. You're working here, and this is, but that's how it is here again, right? It's different rules, different regulations, and a different set of manners, which leads me to one of the big ones that's coming up soon. Working hours are completely random here in the Philippines. It's the strangest thing. You could look on Google for a professional establishment that shows that they're open from Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, like any other normal establishment, whatever. But that may not be the case at all. Maybe they're closed 3 days out of the week. You go there, you're like, what the hell? They were closed on Monday, open on Tuesday, closed on Wednesday, open on Thursday, and closed on Friday? Like, what the hell is going on? But people just kind of work when they feel like working here, it seems like. It's a very random, I don't really have an explanation for that. Maybe that just goes back to like work-life balance. Maybe they just wake up and just don't feel like working today. They don't want to go to work. There's no overseer watching them to say, why didn't you go to work today, you know? I don't know. Maybe this is for more so like business owners and higher up professions that are in a position to do things like this, but I have noticed it myself. Maybe this isn't so much an issue with actual like employee level people. Noise can start incredibly early in the morning. People have no regard for noise. I mean, I've heard people doing construction as early as like 5:30 in the morning, right? Waking up and there's like jackhammers and shit going off. Like, holy dude, it's 5:30 in the morning. Like, have some respect, you know? That's very common here. Karaoke at 6:30 in the morning, and again, the most common form of transportation here is tricycles and jeeps and stuff like that with loud exhausts, right? So be prepared to start your days pretty early here, because chances are you're not sleeping in past 8, 9 o'clock. Okay, that was all of the bad. Thank you guys for sitting through that. But now I've got 2 things that made the ugly category. These are just my own personal opinion. These are the things for me personally that are unbearable. They really get under my skin, makes me very unhappy about this country, okay? So, and there's only 2 things. Maybe this list would be much longer for any other country. And yeah, this is just something that's personal to me. Again, guys, please don't get offended over any of this. It's not, you could make this video about any country in the world, right? It's just a friendly sparring match, right? You guys are more than welcome to go to Canada and rip my country apart too, right? All the power to you. But the first one is the animal welfare state, which I'm sure you guys have guessed, right? I'm a major animal lover and advocate. The animal welfare state in the Philippines here is fucking atrocious. There's no other way to word it. It's horrible. There's an estimated like 13 to 18 million stray animals here, right? So no matter where you go in this country, you're gonna find stray dogs, cats, in all sorts of conditions. I mean, ones that are barely alive, but pretty much 80% of them don't look very good, right? 80% of them are like malnutritioned, eye infections, ear infections, fleas, ticks, open wounds and gashes. None of them are fixed or neutered, nothing, you know, they're all, it's an absolute atrocity. But beyond that, so not only has the government and the people failed their animals, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been walking on the street, I'll see like a kitten in terrible shape, whatever, dying on the side of the road, and people just walk past it. They don't even look at it, which blows my mind, because compassion isn't something that should need to be taught, in my opinion. It should just be something that's innate within us. We're human beings. It's default. When you see a creature there that's suffering, just, I understand that you're not well funded or educated to be able to make a major impact, but for the love of God, do something, especially for such religious people. Didn't God say something like, something about helping suffering creatures, or be kind to your neighbor, or whatever? I'm sure there's something in the Bible that says help the damn animals, right? Filipino people also believe that leaving your dog chained up with no space to move is good enough. That's responsible pet ownership, which is, could not be any further from the truth. That is the saddest existence for a 4-legged creature you could possibly imagine. Think of a dog, okay? Imagine being born as a dog. You're naturally one of the most athletic creatures in the world. You have 4 legs. You're built for speed, right? Those ears flopping in the wind. And what's your favorite activity to do as a dog? Play fetch. That's what you want to do. You want to run. You want to play fetch. You want to go on adventures and explore, right? That's what they do. Even strays here. I see strays playing all the time, right? Even while they're in survival mode, they still have that built into them to just run and play, and that's what they like to do. So to deny your dog that you claim that you love of its very basic nature, to me, is just bad taste, man. Bad taste. No good. Some of it starts with it starts with education, but I don't know. I feel like there's just a serious like devoid of like compassion here, and I know that they grow up around that stuff here in the Philippines. You know, there's from a very young age they've got stray dogs and cats trying to steal their food, and pooing and peeing everywhere, and fornicating and breeding and whatever, and making noise and just making a mess and shit. So to them, the strays are more of like a nuisance You know, so there's a major lack of compassion for the animal welfare state here, which is a shame. Very few people are doing like trap, neuter, return programs, like or even like rescue organizations and stuff like that. They're all just overflowing with horrible cases, and there's such a small amount of people that are actually donating towards stuff like that. So really the rule of law does not exist here in regards to animal welfare. You know, I follow a bunch of pages on Facebook, and it's every other day that I'm seeing a case about animal cruelty, whether it be somebody badly beating a stray animal or pouring boiling hot water on them, or tying a litter of kittens or puppies up in a sack and dumping them off on the highway. And this shit happens all the time here, and it's fucking horrible, and it makes me livid, like really angry. That's the one thing that could ruin my experience here in the Philippines. Not a lot of things make me violent, but that's one thing I have no tolerance for. No tolerance. The last thing that made the ugly list, again, there's only 2 things in this category. The second one is manners. Man, the manners in the Philippines are pretty much non-existent, at least from my experience in 5 months of being here. It's every single day that, oh gosh, where do I even begin with this? I mean, just such basic things, okay? Like coughing with your mouth open. Everywhere I go, people are like, all the time, right? Or smoking cigarettes and then like they'll blow it right in your face, and it's like it's nothing, right? Or eating a big meal and or even our next door neighbor, dude right beside us, 100 times a day, like, oh man, so disgusting, right? There's just so many gross ass things here. People not washing their hands. Like I said earlier, like even in professional establishments where you walk in and they'll have their dirty ass feet up on the couches, or just things like that drive me fucking crazy, you know? Putting their garbage wherever, just really poor manners, completely different idea of manners that we have in North America. In North America, none of these things are acceptable, and you will get scolded for any of these things in North America, but here, it's like everyone does it. It's completely normal here, you know? I mean, it's a tropical place, man. It's island living, right? It's pretty Aztec here. It's pretty, like, it's raw. It's boots on the ground, down to earth, like, get your hands dirty, get your feet in the mud type of place, you know? So I guess along with that type of living comes pretty archaic, primitive manners as well, you know? But for a developing nation, I hope that we can get ourselves on track to being maybe a little bit more first world in that regard. I don't think that would hurt any of us. In regards to the manners, even just other stupid petty things, like you'll be walking on the sidewalk, somebody will just stop right in front of you in the middle of the sidewalk, like a busy sidewalk, to have a conversation with somebody else, clearly seeing that there's like dozens of other people trying to get around them, and they'll just stand there. Like they just have no like spatial awareness, or like, I don't know, man. Even butting lines, I can't tell you how many times I've been in line for something here, food or drinks or whatever, clearly in line, clearly next to order, somebody will just blatantly stand right in front of me. I mean, it could, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's no way that just happened, right? Yeah, manners are no good here. Okay, so that's all the negatives that I have for the Philippines. Is there more? Maybe, I don't know, but I think I covered the gist of it, and I think that's a long enough list for negatives anyway for this to be a pretty balanced video. So I want to get into the goods now. If you're Filipino, thank you for bearing with me while I ripped your country apart. Now I want to clean that up by saying all the good things about your country, and again, I want to thank you guys for welcoming me to your country with open arms. I'm doing what I can for your community. I'm trying to be a beacon and a community leader for kids and animals in particular. I'll educate where I can, and I'd like to be educated as well. If you guys have anything that you want to educate me on, I'm all ears. I love to listen. This is my new home, hopefully forever. I've uprooted my life in Canada, and yeah, I'm very thankful, and I am proud of this country, and I am proud of your people. Again, I could make a negatives list about any place in the world. Okay, let's get into the good here, okay? Let's end this on a positive note. So we've did the bad, we've did the ugly, which only 2 things made the ugly category. Now I got a lot of good things to say about this place too. So the first thing is the cost of living, aimed towards foreigners more so, right? But the cost of living, in some instances, our North American money has up to 400% spending power here, right? So there's not a lot of exploitations in life. There's not a lot of ways to get ahead. I mean, I would say this world has done a pretty good job at keeping you down, beating you down, and keeping you from like really getting up and getting ahead of the curve, you know? I think unless you're like investing in some new wave, you know, you gotta be one of the first people catching a wave to really exploit money, you know? But one of the few tangible exploitations as far as money and standard of living go is to save as much money as you can in a first world country to take it to a third world country where your money has more spending power. Obviously one of the oldest tricks in the book, but it's foolproof, man. It works. If you have the guts, the cojones, the skills, the abilities, whatever, the will, courage, all these things to get up and uproot your life and start somewhere else, it can benefit you greatly, like it has for me. But yeah, geez, I've been getting this like pata soup every day, this big delicious soup for $1.25. It's like strawberry ice cream for 25 cents and fresh fruits and vegetables, like 6, 7, 8 kilograms of it, whatever, for like $12, right? So a tricycle ride across town in Canada would cost me like $20 to $40 using an Uber or a taxi, something like that, right? Here in the Philippines, I could take a tricycle for 15 pesos, which is like 30 cents, 35 cents, whatever, right? I mean, even from my own spot here, I've got just a little 2-floor apartment here. Something like this in Canada would easily cost me $1,500, upwards of $2,000 with the bills. Here it's costing me $200. It's just a no-brainer, right? Very hard to assimilate to life here because they're a unified people here. It's 110 million people doing the Filipino way of everything, right? So you're not going to beat them. Don't think you're going to come here and bring your foreigner customs here like you would in Canada or something like that, a country that's founded upon immigration, because no, you're not. You're going to come here, you're going to have to learn the language, you're going to have to learn how to navigate this place, you're going to have to learn how to eat. Oh, somebody's here, come in. The friendly, hospitable, social, and welcoming atmosphere of the Filipino people. I don't think it could be beaten anywhere in the world. I really don't. Honestly, I stand on that. The Filipino people not only have like a natural admiration for like Western people and culture, maybe, I think, I don't know. I do kind of get some like superstar treatment here, you know? People are naturally curious about me, they want to talk to me, they want to be friends with me. And you're gonna find that when you come here, a lot more people want to help you than hurt you. In fact, nobody really here is out to get you at all. Here in Davao City for the past 2 months, in a pretty low income area, and everyone has made me feel so at home just this whole time. If I have any questions, anything, even when I'm taking like the Jeeps around trying to navigate stuff, people are trying to help me. Everyone is always just making sure that I'm okay, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm safe, I know what I'm doing. No complaints, man. Most hospitable. I could walk up to anybody on the street, have a full-blown conversation with them. And even if I was hungry, these people don't have a lot of money, and if I said like, oh Kuya, like I'm hungry, do you have any extra food or anything I can drink? Like, guarantee it, anybody would say, come on into my home, come on in, like, you know, I'll feed you, and like, do you need a place to sleep? Do you need anything? Is there anything I can get you? Most hospitable people in the world. It's actually what Filipino people are known for, is hospitality. The incredible deep-rooted culture and unity of the Filipino people. So it's 110 million people and hundreds of years. I forget when the Philippines was colonized by Spain and whatever. I don't really remember the history, but Filipino culture just runs deep. 110 million people doing things the Filipino way, right? So everybody is on board with everything, with like music, with food, with religion, everything. They're all so perfectly in sync with each other, and even economically as well, socially, economically, like they all have a very mutual understanding of like, hey, if we're gonna sell fruits and vegetables on the street and stuff like that, it should cost this price. Let's not gouge each other for this stuff, and like rent and housing and stuff. Let's charge this amount, you know. So you don't have this like same dynamic that we do in Canada, where you've got 40 million immigrants from around the world. It's like a rat race. Everyone's just crawling over each other for survival, and it's like everyone's charging absolute top dollar, like how can I gouge my neighbor as hard as I can for this product or service, you know? Like what is the maximum amount that some sucker will pay for this? And that's absolutely the impression I'm under when I'm back in my home country. But it's not like that here, you know. They have the level of unity, you can feel it instantly when you're here, which I'm very thankful for, and I appreciate that. I do. I think it's amazing. I'm eating some saging right now, which means banana. The non-stop adventure and liveliness of the Philippines. I'm pretty sure the main motto that they have here in the Philippines is it's more fun in the Philippines. And it is. It's true, man. In a total of 5 months of being here in the Philippines, I think I've made more friends or acquaintances, whatever. I don't know, just friendly people, and had more stories to tell, saw more things and adventures than 10 years in Canada. Honestly, I mean, my next door neighbors in Canada lived beside us for like 8 years, don't even know their names. Never had a single conversation with them, and that's typical, right? Yeah, here in the Philippines is not like that. Very social culture. Everyone is out and about and doing things. Completely different dynamic of life here, you know? Obviously, everybody still needs to go to work for the day, but come 3, 4, 5 o'clock, it's party time, man. Everyone is out socializing. Next one, the energy invested into festivals, celebrations, and events. They will find any excuse to make life fun. And this is an extension of the last thing that I mentioned, but absolutely so true. They will find any excuse possible to have fun, to go do things. Every single mall here in the Philippines has like a stage in it. And even in the middle of the day on a weekday, there's like some dude with a microphone talking, and then people sitting there at events for dancing or singing or you name it, whatever, culture, art, all the time here. You would never ever see something like that in Canada. I know that a lot of things that I'm talking about in this video are a comparison to Canada, but I don't have a lot of things to compare it to because Canada is really the only place I've been and lived, right? But it's true, there's always something to do here. It just depends on your energy levels and your outgoingness. But if you want, it can be never a dull moment here. This is a big one. One that I'm thankful for too is the humor of the Filipino people. Oh, thankfully they have amazing humor. With a lot of the people that I've met, I've dated, she's my third Filipino girlfriend now. I've talked to a lot of Filipino guys here, and very inappropriate humor, which I love. It's pretty unhinged and chaotic and sarcastic and whatever, just crude in nature, and I love that stuff. And obviously it depends on who you're talking to, you know. I mean, obviously if I'm gonna go talk to some 60-year-old Lola, then she's not gonna laugh at the same things as like a 30-year-old Filipino man would, right? But generally speaking, here, absolutely, because of my experience with East Asians, Chinese, Korean, Japanese people, we can never laugh together. Never ever. We never laugh at the same things at all. Something that has them on the ground in tears to me is like you find that funny? Wow. So yeah, thankfully, Filipino people have the best humor, arguably, in all of Asia. Next one, the safety of the Philippines. This is a big one. Everybody has always said to me, whether it be back in my own country or even Filipino people, are constantly telling me, be careful, be safe, you know, all of these things. Now, in 5 months, I've been to Manila multiple times, Cebu, Davao City, General Santos, Palomalok, blah, 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 all these places, okay? One of my favorite things to do is walk around at nighttime feeding strays, and sometimes I go out as late as 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Even during my stay in Manila, I would cruise the streets by myself, walking around those tight alleyways. Filipino people would stop me and say, oh, Kuya, don't go down that street, don't go down there, like it's dangerous, you need to be inside. And I say, okay. But you know what I do? I do it anyway.
I've never had one problem in 5 months. Am I being complacent? I'm not sure. I don't know. Can it happen? I'm sure it can happen, but it hasn't happened. And if any, I've pretty much thrown my common sense out the window and done exactly what you shouldn't be doing and still never had a problem, right? I mean, even the other day, around the corner from here, there's like this gang hideout. There's this gang, and they're clearly a gang, okay? So they're all in red with bandanas, and even their girlfriends have like red bandanas on their purses and everything, and they're very intimidating, sketchy looking dudes. And I had my camera with me, and I was holding it, and I didn't notice how close they were until I was already right beside them, and I was thinking, oh fuck, like I got $1,000 camera with me, and I'm walking past these guys, right? So I'm not making eye contact with them, I'm walking past them. The guy says, hey, Guia, where you from, man? And I'm like, oh my gosh, right? Like, is anybody here dangerous? Does anybody here actually mean any harm? I don't know. But so far, so good. I have nothing but great things to say. And everywhere that I've been in the Philippines, whether it be midday or middle of the night, I've walked down all the alleyways and streets, and nobody has ever given me a hard time. I never even got a bad vibe from somebody, like you know that intuition that you have, the spidey senses when you walk past like somebody and you're like, oh, like I don't like that guy. I got a bad energy from this. You know, something feels off here. Never felt that. I don't know. Something about maybe the Filipino people just seem like they're raised to not be violent people, even under duress, even under awful circumstances of poverty and whatever, right? So, and even as I've talked about in a previous video, like drug addiction and stuff, we have a very different idea of drug addiction back in Canada, or like places like the city that I'm from called Oshawa is actually known for fentanyl use, right? So it's once a week that any from 1 to 3 times a week where I come across somebody that's out of their damn mind, should be locked up in a facility, in a jail cell for the way they're behaving, right? But they just get a little slap on the wrist and back on their way to go assault somebody else, you know? But here in the Philippines, I never see that stuff. I have never saw a junkie on the streets or somebody with a gun or a knife, or never saw like a fight or anything. And I'm outside all the time here, all the time. So for me, it's a 10 out of 10. The Philippines, the safety is not a concern here in the Philippines, in my opinion. The amount of people that speak English in the Philippines is phenomenal. Probably the best in Asia. I really would say so. If you go to anywhere in East Asia, if you go to Japan, you gotta speak Japanese. You go to China, you gotta speak Chinese. Philippines, I don't know what it is. I don't know if they just have this obsession with Western media. They're constantly watching Western media, and that's where they learn their English through. I know they learn English in school, but even in a less educated area like where I'm in right now, I can still have a basic conversation with any person here. Almost any person here can speak English to a pretty basic degree, you know, and some people even more. Some people I can have an intelligent conversation with. So that's really nice, and it makes assimilating in this country a lot easier. Oh, I can only imagine how hard it would be to navigate a country like China or something like that, trying to get from one city to another, and they don't speak any English, and you're just relying solely on a translator app. I've had to do it a couple times here, but for the most part, English is fantastic here. Filipino cuisine. Well, green tea is not a thing here, that's for sure, because I paid a premium even for these shitty Lipton tea bags. They love the 3-in-1 coffee here, but excellent Filipino cuisine. So the adobo, which is like a type of seasoning here, they put it on chicken, pork, beef, all these things. Amazing, love it. Halo-halo, minignit, pares, sinigang, kwek-kwek, siomai, pandesal, lomi, mami. The list goes on and on, man. There's 100 other things. Some I've tried, lots that I haven't. Some that I will not try, like balut, which is like a duck egg that comes in different ages, still has the fetus in it. Sugar is like a main ingredient in a lot of Filipino things here. You know, sugar is all over the place. The other thing you need to be careful about is fried foods as well. A lot of fried stuff here. So Heart disease is like the cause of death here in the Philippines. Pretty much everywhere you go, all the street food, deep fried. So gotta be careful about that. Fruit, vegetables, and meat here in the Philippines, as you saw in previous videos, quite literally as fresh as it comes. So as I stated earlier, I've had 2 medical experiences here in the Philippines. Actually, technically 3. During previous days in the Philippines, I had a couple rabies scares. A big German Shepherd, I wasn't sure of the status of him. I couldn't tell his temperament, acting a little strange. Went like this, shook his head. I got a big glob of saliva in my eyeball, right in my eye, which is a class 3 rabies exposure, if the dog was rabid. Which he wasn't. I went to the hospital anyway. Incredible layout, by the way, incredible. So they just had like 4 doctors just right on the other side of the glass, just sitting there waiting for people to come in. No lineup whatsoever. You just sit there, you talk to a doctor right there and then, and they'll give you their professional advice on what they think you should do. If they genuinely think you should be coming upstairs to get a rabies shot or whatever it is you need. Such a great layout. The healthcare system in Canada absolutely just makes me want to harm myself even more, makes me want to cause more medical issues, as I've stated before. So backed up. Everyone's always giving you the runaround, like, oh, well, you got to go see a specialist here or there, whatever. My other 2 medical experiences here in the Philippines are I had a severely impacted ear with earwax and dirt and whatever, right? They have a specialist in the actual hospital. They just send you right there. You don't have to go to a general practitioner or anything. I went in there, I said hi for both my eye and my ear infection. I walked in, I said hi, I have an eye infection. Said, okay, yeah, go upstairs, go to this room. No wait at all. I waited no more than 10 minutes to see a specialist. See a specialist, you'd have to wait months to see a specialist back in Canada. Same thing for my ear. Costed me no more than like $25 to $50 for each problem to be solved within a matter of minutes. So yeah, my medical experience has been a 10 out of 10. The doctors clearly know what they're talking about. Professional, friendly, prompt, thorough. I would feel much more secure having a medical issue here in the Philippines than back in my home country, Canada. I really would. Cheap, instant, and fun transportation. A single bus ride in Canada is pushing $5 now, almost $5, right? Which that's 200 pesos here in the Philippines. So almost $5 for a single bus ride. And Uber is anywhere from like $20 to $30, $40, depending where you're going, right? Which is insane. Here in the Philippines, as I stated earlier, 30 cents will get you across town to wherever you need to go, you know? And it's fun because in Canada, we take cars everywhere, the windows up and whatever. Here, you've just got the sun shining on you. You're on a motorcycle, right? So it's pretty much motorcycles and Jeeps everywhere. So yeah, it's, you know, I got the wind blowing through my long, beautiful hair, sights and sounds and just the atmosphere, the elements, you know, I'm experiencing everything. If it's raining, you get some rain on you and stuff, but that's part of the experience and I love it. So I love the transportation here in the Philippines. Not to mention how readily available it is. I can go outside my house, flag someone down like that in 2 seconds, get a ride anywhere I need to go. The eagerness of young Filipino people to learn and act. No ego thinking they know everything. Absolutely. There's been multiple circumstances now I've noticed, particularly with young adults, where I'll explain something to them and clearly they're willing to learn. They don't think they know everything. They don't. They're willing to learn. If you have an idea, if you have a way that you think things could be done better, they'll listen. And I love that. I really appreciate that because ego is the death of a man. Ego is the death of growth. Accept the fact that there is somebody better than you at something, somebody that has better ideas and that you can be a student. You know, we all need to be students at all ages of our life. The hard workingness of the Filipino people, oh my gosh. I mean, like I said, it's over 30 degrees in this country every day. I can't tell you how many times I see a dude that's my weight, bantamweight. We're like, I'm 130 pounds, right? 134 or whatever. Guys, my same build, carrying like big steel pipes and logs and shit on their shoulders in this hot, blazing sun with no sunglasses on, no hat or anything. And they're doing this stuff for like 10 hours a day for 500 pesos, you know? Like, oh man. Yeah, they got some hard working people here. They also have some tambay people that are not so hardworking, like we talked about earlier. But yeah, I would trust having Filipino employees. I think if I wanted something done, if I started a business here, something like that, I would be honored to hire Filipino people, whether it be for a professional setting or a physical blue collar, like laborious job of any sort. I trust people to get things done. To extend on that, the resourcefulness of the Filipino people, absolutely. I don't know what it is. You could dig 100-foot hole and put 6 Filipino men in it, give them a slipper, a teacup, and a plastic bag, and say, okay guys, figure out a contraption to get your way out of this 100-foot hole. And somehow they would do it. I don't know how they do it, but they would do it. They are extremely resourceful people, and this is in all regards as well. Even food. If you're gonna kill a chicken for food, I mean, they use every part of the chicken here, right? Like the beaks, I don't know about the beaks, but they eat chicken feet here. They eat the spleen. It's called chicken isao. Every part of every animal is used here, you know, of everything. They've really figured out how to stretch the resourcefulness of any resource, period. Building materials, whatever, you name it, anything, right? Very resourceful people. Filipino dudes are strong. Like, they're small. They're small guys. The average height for a Filipino man is probably something around like 5'5", 5'6", something like that. And they're scrawny guys like me too, right? But they're built. They're built. Don't be fooled. Like, you would not want to get in a fight with one of these guys, because like I said, like, something in the rice here or the tap water, the well water they're drinking here, there's steroids in it or something. It's super strength or the sun here, I don't know. But they are strong dudes. The contrast and availability of an upscale or lower scale edgy experience, I love that here. That is one of my favorite things of the Philippines, because I get so bored of like upscale stuff. I'm not a bougie dude at all. I like to dress nice. I like to look nice. All the clothes I buy are always clearance. Believe it or not, it's a $20 t-shirt, you know? Like, everything I buy is always clearance. I don't wear any name brand shit, so when I go to those like big box store malls and stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, you know, not really my thing. But since coming to the Philippines 4 times ago, I love the edgy experience of just the raw Filipino living. People always tell me, oh, Kuya, you should go to Siargao or Palawan or Bohol, amazing beaches and all of these tourist places. No, I don't want to go there. Those are the places I don't want to go. I don't want to be around other foreigners. I want to be around only Filipino people, which is how I like it. That's exactly where I'm living right now, south of Bolton Bridge in Davao City. No foreigners, none of us, right? Just me living real Filipino living amongst Filipino people. That's the way that I like it. That's the way that I want it. But having said that, if I get tired of seeing the starving stray animals and being begged for money and garbage everywhere and just lower class living and stuff like that, it's as easy as taking a 5-minute Jeep ride down the road to a big upscale mall where they've got Louis Vuitton and Fendi. And if you want that junk, I don't want that junk, but if you wanted that, it's there, you know? And that's cool. I really like that. The big air-conditioned malls with upscale Korean barbecue, like, you know, for a fraction of the prices that stuff would be back in Canada, by the way. Filipino women, most beautiful, loving, and caring women in the world, right? The perfect golden brown skin, looking like a perfectly baked mamon straight out of the oven, like golden pancakes on a Saturday morning, right? Yeah, Filipino women are they're number one. You know, I always thought I wanted to be with a Chinese girl, Korean girl, Japanese girl, whatever, and I dated some of them throughout my 20s, and something was always missing. I noticed that I could never really like laugh with them and truly be myself, and then I started dating Filipino women. It was like this. I was like, oh my God, like you are the ones that, like, you are the perfect women, because the humor is there, the wildness is there, just the social aspect is there. They're willing to like try new things, and there's not so much of a language barrier either. A lot of Filipino women can speak high level English to a good degree, right? So, or are willing to learn quickly, you know? So there's not such a intense culture barrier stopping you guys from like having a loving, deep, fun relationship. Like I fart on my girlfriend and I take a poo and she sits on me and she takes a poo and I sit on top of her and we just do the most ridiculous, just retarded shit ever. And like if I was to try and do that stuff with a Korean girl or something, she would dump me on the spot. She would leave me. She'd be like, "You're a fucking psychopath," you know? So I love that about Filipino women. But even my exes, like the reels that they send me and stuff, like they're funny. They're funny. We often share the same humor. Do I have any complaints about Filipino women? Just tampo, which is like attitude and like babe, what's wrong? Right? They pull that shit, but they do that. They're women. Are any of them perfect? No. Only men are perfect. Obviously, the incredible, beautiful landscape and geography of the Philippines, top notch, right? I've been here for 2 months. I haven't even gone to the ocean yet. I've been to the ocean a bunch of other times during my other stays in the Philippines, but man, it is beautiful here. I mean, we got mountains here, crazy geography, all the vegetation here, so cool. We got 100-foot coconut trees right outside. I mean, just all sorts of cool stuff. I mean, like even right outside my window, look at this, right? So, big coconut tree right there. Very beautiful place. If you can get past the garbage, beautiful. Guys, it took me a long time to think about all of the ideas for this video. Everything good and bad about it. This is my honest opinion. Again, for like the 5th time, I hope this doesn't piss off anybody. If you disagreed with me about anything, feel free to leave a comment and educate me if you think that something I said was wrong. Take this with a grain of salt. This is just one random white dude's opinion on the internet. Who cares? Not a big deal. I can make this video about any country in the world, right? No country is perfect. It's just constructive criticism, both probably primarily for foreigners maybe looking to do something like this in their life, you know, to maybe just visit the Philippines or maybe move here permanently or whatever. I wanted to give an honest opinion because I do feel like a lot of the stuff that I have saw on YouTube is, "Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to my YouTube video. Today we're gonna be checking out," like, that's not my style. That's not my style. I like things right on 50-50, good and bad. All things in balance as they should be. Life is not always happy, sunshine, rainbows. Sometimes it's fever and death and fucking plague and pestilence and that's the way it is, man. That's life. And so I like to err on the side of balance always. And so I hope that this gives you a little bit of insight to the good and the positive from some random bald-headed gringo on the internet. Thank you for watching. See you guys soon. Do you have anything to say? What's positive and negative about the Philippines, according to Jerlyn? Stop! Oh, just say something. Would Chinese or Korean girls let you do that? No shot.
Stop.
There has finally been one donation from John C. Thank you so much, John. John donated towards pet food and some badminton sets, which is so well needed. Thank you so much, because I was on like my last like $25 of a reserve for cat food. So you guys have no idea how fast I burn through cat and dog food. More so the cat food because, again, I'm feeding so damn many of them outside my house every single day. But it's because of you that they're not starving, because I genuinely am on a very tight budget myself from month to month here. I need to be very careful or things could get out of control very quickly for me here. And I don't want that. So I do rely on donations. I'm already over budget this month of trying to buy some badminton sets for kids myself and whatever. So I'd also like to start saving more money towards an air condition A friend of mine, Justin, has helped pay for some of that. So, man, it's hot here. God, it's hot. Like even last night, I woke up for like almost an hour in the middle of the night last night. That will be nice. That's actually what this window unit right here is for. I'm just gonna punch that out and put an AC in there. Life will be good. So yeah, if anybody wants to donate, yeah, we'd be really thankful. Not towards my shit, not towards an air condition, but just for the community, for animals, and for kids. It goes so far here. Again, as you guys can see in the videos, like the kids really appreciate it. I do too. So thank you guys deeply for that. Really appreciate that.